You've probably heard me talking about this self-sufficient living skills bundle that's been going on. And I have been spending the last week flipping through so many of the incredible resources within this bundle. Now, I will say there's a lot. There's over 118 different ebooks and courses and lessons sharing incredible wisdom and knowledge with you so you can live off the land and you don't have to rely on this corrupt and broken system for everything for your family. Anyways, I wanted to share some of my favorite things. One, first off, is off-grid homeopathy. This course is loaded with so much incredible knowledge, talking about homeopathy for first aid, for colds and flu, how to make your own homeopathic remedies. Like, as an herbalist who loves to teach that stuff, that's pretty exciting to hear it in the homeopathy realm. There's also some incredible fermentation guides, so many other amazing herbal recipes and food recipes, and how to make your own sourdough bread, how to do your own organic gardening and canning of all of your foods. Really, there is so much. And yes, I know. I've talked about it a ton, but this entire bundle is only $50 right now until Sunday, March 24th. I'm sharing my herbal first aid skills, which is a course that's $47 on its own. I'm sharing recipes that I used when I got my products into REI for herbal first aid kits and so much more. You'll have to check it out. I'm serious. Like, you can absolutely change your life with this bundle. So there is a link in the show notes for you, and I hope you check it out. I hope you take advantage. Don't worry, you don't have to go through everything right away. You can access everything for up to a year. Once you're in the course or have the download, it's yours for life. It is a steal of a deal. Okay, self-sufficient living skills bundle in the links for you. Hello and welcome to the Herbalist Path, a podcast where you'll discover how to make your own herbal remedies at home so that you can take better care of yourself, better care of your family, and better care of our planet. I'm Mel. I'm a clinical herbalist, environmental educator, and mountain living mama with this crazy passion for teaching more mamas and their little loves how to use plants as medicine in a safe, effective, and tasty way so that there can be an herbalist in every home. Again, it's an absolute honor to have you on the journey down the herbalist path with me so that together we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. Welcome to another episode on the Herbalist Path. I am so excited about the conversation that we're going to have today. I have Cherylyn Morgan with me, who was an ICU nurse for 20 years and now is a patient care advocate through Graith Care. And she's a student of mine. She is very active in learning as much as she can about this herbal medicine world. And coming from an allopathic background, she has a lot of insight and knowledge to share. So I'm beyond thrilled. And Cherilyn, thank you so much for being here on the show today.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So one of the things I love to ask people in the beginning of our chats is just to hear a little bit about the beginnings of your plant path and your herbalist path, dare we say, and how you got into that world.
So thinking about it, in retrospect, my very first conspiracy theory was not JFK, which is what I thought. No. When I was that 5-year-old kid and thought dandelions were the most magical plant because in its seed form, it looks like a mix of the clouds and the moon. And then the flower blooms and it looks just like the sun. God had to have had a special plan for the dandelion. And so I would pick them and bring them to my mom and she'd say, these are weeds, and throw them away. And I knew I was right. I never gave up belief that there was something special about the dandelion. And then fast forward 45 years.
Takes a little time, just a little time.
And what a rabbit hole that has been. I spent 20 years in ICU medicine. I recovered people after open heart surgery. I took care of patients after transplant. You give me an almost dead person and I bring them back to life again. And I thought that was magical. But there was always a part of me that said, we're doing it wrong. And the more years I spent in it, the more I was asking questions like, we're throwing all of these antibiotics at them and their gut is absolute trash. Can we give them some probiotics? And they'd look at me like I was speaking a foreign language. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. As I would encourage the family to gather around and pray. And they're like, what are you doing? This patient is sick. And I'm like, yeah, sick enough. We need to leave room for God. Mm-hmm. And they look at me like I was from another planet. So when 2020, I found myself suddenly no longer at the bedside. I was on TikTok just trying to lick my wounds, and there came your sunshine smile, and you're talking about dandelions.
Yes, I love that when the science comes so perfectly. That's amazing. I think that like the story of you being 5 years old and recognizing that, and maybe you had no idea for the last 45 years that was what was happening. I think that just goes to say like the value of the intuitive nature of children.
Exactly.
They are so sharp and so wise. And unfortunately in our society, their innate brilliance is suppressed. And gosh, if we could bring more of that out for children, wouldn't that be beautiful?
Right?
That would be empower those brilliant beings, and believe in them and their conspiracy theories. Yeah.
Anytime you can ask a kid a question and listen to their answer instead of just force feeding them the information, they're going to teach you. Mm-hmm. And it's a shame when you don't let the kids teach you.
I agree. I feel like that with the plants, like there's a saying, I want to say that it was Rosemary Gladstar because I've learned it through United Plant Savers, but it's a saying for the plants that I think could also go for the children. And it's, if you listen, they will teach you. Simple. And yet so powerful and so true. So I'm so happy that you have made that connection. Did you make the connection from 5-year-old you to 50-year-old you, like recently, or then you were like, hold on?
Oh no, it was very recent that I was looking back and realizing that something in me always, because I always felt safest when I was up in a tree. Mm-hmm. I would go up in a tree and read, and grounding and sunshine. I was a night shift nurse for 25 years. I was deprived of nature, and getting my hands in the dirt again is so healing.
I bet I can feel the healing and relief of that right there. My partner works part of the year graveyard, and then the other part he's in the daytime, and it's a literal night and day difference in his being, and I'm like, this is not healthy for you, babe. I love you. I know you love your really cool job.
I got a little bit of a tan.
Yay! Your skin's like, thank you, vitamin D. I love you. Yes. That is great.
I'm aging backwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just connecting with the planet, spending time outside.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed about you and dandelion is that you talk a lot about dandelion when you do show up to the live classes in Apothecary Momma, and you have so much knowledge and insight with your healthcare background and saving people's lives. Thank you, by the way, for that incredibly valuable work.
Tell me about dandelion. What things do you love about it? How are you using it today for your family and for your patients you're advocating for?
Dandelion tea is really, really easy. And back in the spring, I was just throwing it into on top of my salads. They're so pretty.
They really are. And that's medicine for the soul right there.
Yes,
right?
Like growing them intentionally made me happy. And the roots I got. Oh my goodness. I'm like, wow. I had originally, when we first moved in here back in 2016, had gotten some of those, they look like whiskey barrel. Yeah. So I had gotten those intentionally for ornamental out front. And I didn't put mums in those. No, I was intentionally growing my dandelions to see how big I could get those roots.
Ooh, I love that. How big did you get them? Like,
the fattest ones were like this fat.
So for those of you that can't see, she's like basically taking her normal adult size hands and putting the index finger and thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
that in the corner. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And for a container, I was impressed.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. I love the intentional dandelion growing when so many people are spending so much time and money polluting our entire planet and their bodies.
The medicine?
I know.
We are buying.
How can we shout this louder for the people in the back?
We are buying poison to kill medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confused. That is the most upside down, backward thinking.
Hey, I wanted to take a quick pause to show some love and gratitude to our sponsors of the Herbalist Path podcast, who make this show possible for me and possible for you too. So here it goes. Medicinal mushrooms are all the rage these days, if you didn't know already. And with great reason, because they are powerful medicine that can improve your health and your life in so many different ways when they're well made. Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of stuff on the market that isn't going to be so effective. And that's why you need to find a brand that you can actually trust. For me, that brand is Whole Sun Wellness, and this is the creation of a brilliant woman and fellow mama, Jamie Bonfiglio. She's an international mushroom educator that has been working in the medicinal mushroom industry for years. And this is when she saw firsthand how many other companies take shortcuts when it comes to their products. And Jamie wasn't having it. She set out to build her company the right way. Whole Sun Wellness is here to raise the industry standards so those crap mushrooms on the market aren't getting into your body or your family's body. Whole Sun Wellness is the first company to test and report nutritional facts for all of their extracts. They go beyond industry standards every step of the way, from sourcing to extraction and final testing. And as the owners of the largest medicinal mushroom farm in the United States, Whole Sun Wellness is taking control of their supply chain for the highest quality and absolute full transparency. They're even the first company to include pure mycelium extract in every single product. So when you're thinking of getting medicinal mushrooms for you and your family, Whole Sun Wellness is exactly the ones you want. Also, be sure to check out their new Mycolites. These are the world's first dissolvable electrolyte tablets. They're featuring functional mushroom extracts that'll give you more energy, more stamina, and recovery as well. And who couldn't use all of that? The other thing is, they are these adorable little mushroom-shaped tablets, and they come in like a little Altoids box, but way cooler than Altoids because they're Mycolites. Anyways, head to wholesunwellness.com to grab yourself some Mycolites and all of the other functional medicinal mushrooms that you and your family need. And of course, you can grab that link right here in the show notes now.
Yeah. Amen. Can we say that one louder for the people in the back? Like, how do we make everybody understand that there's so much medicine in the majority of your weeds that are just there going, hi, I'm here for you. I'm your food. I'm your medicine. How about you use me? You don't have to use all the exotic plants. I'm right here.
I mean, there's nothing hardier.
That statement right there, there's nothing hardier, is a great signature to the value and potency of these plants as medicine. Here you are, your neighbors are, spraying and poisoning them as much as possible, ripping them out with anger and what have you. And yet they keep coming back. They keep coming back saying, hey, remember me? I'm still here for you. I'm still your food. I'm still your medicine. Like, wow. You know, that doesn't really happen, even with a lot of our man-made drugs, right? We make these antibiotics and formulate them in what ways they do, yet our bacteria that are making people ill and whatnot are so freaking intelligent that they are able to be like, oops, sorry, I'm resisting your antibiotics, right? But yet we have plants that don't do that.
I would have to be on death's door to take an antibiotic again, ever.
Yeah. Because we know what is there available, right? Because you do, at least, you know, so much. Yeah. So I bet you have about 1,000,000,001 stories of being an ICU nurse and watching how that happened. And since we're on the topic of antibiotics, and you brought that up when you were talking about saving people's lives and everybody just getting antibiotics shoved down their throats when nobody really cared to look at the health of the gut and how that impacts the entire body and inflammation and your brain. I'd love to just hear really anything you want to say about those times or things that you maybe saw that you were like, hold on, this is not okay.
So one of my aha moments was when I realized that the only time that we ordered an ova and parasite testing was when a patient could not get better. And they had been in the ICU with us taking care of them for months, getting worse instead of better after they had thrown all of the things at them. And then they're looking, and sure enough, they needed to be a cleanse. And as soon as they supported the immune system just a little bit, suddenly now they're able to get better and their body begins healing. And it's very little what we were actually doing. Sometimes it's just getting out of their way. But it didn't make sense to me. Why are we so arrogant in America that we think we're the only country that doesn't need to do regular parasite cleanses? Mm-hmm. Maybe, just maybe, especially since the fast food diet is so prevalent.
Yeah. Our diet and our healthcare system are both like here making everybody sick. Right? It's right. It's frightening, and it's really challenging because it's those people running those companies that don't care whether we're healthy or not. As a matter of fact, I bet you a large percentage of them don't eat any of that crap and actually lead a healthy life. But they're like, I'm making tons of money, so who cares about the rest of the people? As if it has to be an elitist thing for us to take good care of a human. Yeah. When, again, we have all of this food and medicine at the ready for us.
It becomes rather naive to believe that the government wants us to be healthy, and they wouldn't let anything bad be available for us.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got Monster drinks in every gas station. They don't care about us.
Look at what they give to our children in schools for food. Here's your free lunch. It'll keep you nice and sick.
Oh, the cereal lie.
So scary.
Lucky Charms. That's not food. It's not food.
Not in any way, shape, or form, but it's been fortified. Oh? Fantastic. Thank you.
But our salt hasn't, like, they took away the salt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a messed up system. So I also wanted to talk, I didn't recognize or realize that you were specifically treating heart patients when you were an ICU nurse. And so I'm really curious now that you've been diving into the world of herbal medicine. What kind of herbs are you thinking that you wish you had on hand back in those days?
Oh my goodness. So a lot of what I do now as an advocate is I will take each of the prescription drugs that they are taking on a daily basis and go to the physician's desk reference online and copy and paste the entire list of known side effects for those drugs, and then highlight all of the symptoms that they are complaining of. And show them that 9 times out of 10, everything that they're experiencing is not actually the disease process like they thought. It's actually, they're doing it to themselves with the drugs that they're being given. Mm-hmm. When I looked up carbidopa levodopa that we give for Parkinson's, what we were taught in nursing school were the symptoms of Parkinson's are actually the symptoms of the drug that we give to people with Parkinson's.
Wow. That's really fascinating. And you just brought up Parkinson's, and 2 people that are very dear to me in my life have recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I haven't worked with many people with Parkinson's, so I'm really curious what you have been doing herbally to support those people. Are you working with Parkinson's patients now?
I've got 2 just last month. Mm-hmm. And I would have to pull up my notes so that I could tell you with confidence what it was that I did, but very much the same treatment plan for both, except that, and this is crazy, one of them, he's had it for years and he's been on many, many drugs. Not only are we working on getting rid of the heavy metals, he tested off the charts for heavy metals. Mm-hmm. So we're working on that with him. But they were able to find a hyperbaric chamber used online from a chiropractic office that had upgraded to a newer model and had it shipped to the house. So they now have their very own hyperbaric chamber and a new income source as friends and family come rent it from them. And it's helping them pay their bills. So a lot of out of the box thinking.
Yeah. We've got to think out of the box for sure, because the box is broken.
Yes.
The box is broken. It is time for us to step outside of it for sure. When I was thinking, like, immediately when I hear heart, back to where you were in ICU care, one of the herbs I turn to most often and have seen wonderful things happen for people recovering from heart surgery and stents and all kinds of things is hawthorn. The berry, flower, and leaf is really amazing, and it is generally regarded as safe with most heart medications, and it really helps to strengthen and tone the heart and entire cardiovascular system. And that it was like when you spoke of that was instantly what came to my mind. And
Thanks.
I have a huge love for hawthorn also spiritually, as it opens the heart to giving and receiving of love. And it is a wonderful herb for supporting people during the grieving process, which I think these days a lot of people are grieving. And it's just a magnificent plant.
Grief and trauma right now are off the charts. People are feeling disconnected and just having felt gaslit from different areas, like either by family members or by a system or by an employer. And the trauma of that, we're seeing a lot of mental health issues and fear. Fear is the enemy. If anybody hears one thing that I have to say, fear is the enemy and you have got to reject it. We have nothing to fear.
Right.
It's the greatest lie that we swallow whole without examining it. And we need to remain curious instead. When fear bubbles up, take a pause, take a cleansing breath, 2 or 3, and ask yourself, what are you really afraid of? What is the big thing that could happen? And it's usually a lie. And we can reject it and laugh at ourselves and move along in the confidence that we woke up today. We're not guaranteed tomorrow, but we woke up today. So the odds are really, really good we can make it all the way to bedtime.
Yeah.
So take the next right step and reach out. Someone cares about you.
Yes, I love this. Yes, thank you for those words. Fear is challenging for so many people to get through, and you are so spot on with everybody feeling trauma and sadness and depression and so many mental health issues, especially, I don't know, maybe just because we're in the United States and we hear everything happening in the United States, but it seems heavily prevalent here. And of course, it's everywhere. Obviously, there's a lot of trauma and tragedy happening throughout our entire world. And it's just darn sad. And then I could be, I see a lot of great posts from people that I respect, especially with what's happening in Palestine right now. And I have a tendency to, I don't know if it's run away from those feelings or just, no, I feel it. I feel it for my friends. I have friends that are feeling it really, really hard right now. And I guess I just don't talk about it openly on any of my platforms, maybe because I'm not an expert in the area, or I can't comprehend what is going on. And then that piece of fear comes up for me, that piece of fear of seeing what's going on in this world and thinking of my beautiful 10-year-old child. Right? Obviously, I want nothing but the best for her. And I hope that I'm raising her in a way where her kindness and compassion can spread to many others. And she's an innate healer. Like, she doesn't know it yet, but I see it in her. I feel it in her with her loving, caring hands. Hopefully she is able to grow into that and really make a difference, even if it's on a small scale. In this world, we need this next generation. It goes back to like empowering those children and listening to what they have to say and their pure genius. And we need those children to be heard.
If you don't follow Jen Hoskins, you need to on TikTok. She says more is caught than taught. She's a homeschooling mom. And that is absolutely true. Your kids are watching and they are learning from your example, even when you don't realize it. And I found that I accidentally got so much more right than I could have dreamt with mine. She won't listen to this probably, so I can talk about her. She's 27 years old. She was just in a car accident. And when she finished telling me the story, I said, I love you, kid. And I know you love your vehicle, but I am really, really glad that it was you that was in that car accident today, because the kid that ran into her was on their way to a psych VA visit. He has just gotten out of the military, and he spent 20 minutes sobbing while she's patting his back and telling him that it's absolutely going to be okay. And she made that awful mess a little bit less awful and calmed him down so that he walked into his appointment able to listen and get some good out of it. And what a good kid.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's horrible because it's an accident, but, to find the light in that incident. And, obviously people have some pretty intense reactions around accidents and such. And it sounds like he really needed that help and that love and that time of compassion and caring. And if more people in this world could offer compassion and caring and that loving heart and an ear in the shoulder. Instead of just shushing everything away, like, here we are, we think we're all connected. You said this earlier, like, everybody is feeling disconnected, but yet we all have this social media stuff and we all have this weird online world, and it's a totally different world than you and I grew up in. And it's all there to connect people.
But it's
yet we're not. Because we're not digging in the dirt. We're not walking in the woods. We're not talking to plants. We're not doing the things that we were put on this planet to do. It's heavy. It's really, really heavy. But I'm so grateful that you are getting to see sunshine, that you are getting to see the moonlight as it needs to be. Because I think back to your magical
and I don't have to be worried about the shift that I was going to have because it was a full moon.
Oh, no.
We're the full moon now.
Oh, yeah.
25 years of going, oh, no.
It's a full moon night. Oh, yeah, I bet. I've heard that from a lot of my nurse friends that are like, I don't like the full, I don't want to work on those nights. No, thank you. Oh, I bet.
All of those rumors were true.
Yeah. So I want to hear a little bit more. So you joined me in Apothecary Momma, like right at the beginning as I was starting to build it out, which I can't believe I'm like at about a year of running that program. And I thought I was going to have everything built out in like 2 months.
That's optimistic.
Yeah, aren't I though? Optimistic, crazy, something, I don't know, one of those two things. But it's like, I can sit here and babble about herbs all day and I can think the thoughts, but then, you know, I go to put together lessons and like, I go back and do research again and I really think out what's going in there. And that takes a lot of time, a lot more than 2 to 3 months. So, but yeah, ever since you've been in that program, it sounds like you had learned a lot and now you're utilizing what you've learned in there to continue with your knowledge and expertise as an ICU nurse for 20 years, but also to help people learn how to use plant medicine. And just knowing that brings me an immense amount of joy because I want to make herbalism spread like wildflowers, but I also want to hear about it from you. Like, what are you doing today with all of your knowledge and your wisdom, and how are you using that to help others?
Hey, I wanted to take a quick pause to show some love and gratitude to our sponsors of the Herbalist Path podcast, who make this show possible for me and possible for you too. So here it goes. I love this time of year. It's spring, the sun is shining, and all of our beautiful plant friends are popping up. It's amazing. Unless, of course, you're one of the millions of people who suffer from seasonal allergies. You know, the itchy, watery eyes, the sneezing and wheezing that's straight miserable. Thankfully, there are some amazing herbs that can help you with all of that. Just like the herbs inside of Kick-Ass Allergy from Wish Garden Herbs, one of my absolute favorite herbal companies out there. Kick-Ass Allergy, yes, I said ask without the K at the end. Anyways, this formula has yerba santa, nettles, echinacea for that immune support, and orange peels, all which come together to help dry up those excessive mucosal secretions. Yep, I'm talking about the sniffles and the stuffy nose, the watery eyes, and all that jazz. This blend also acts as a great expectorant and can help ease the swelling and inflammation in those mucosal tissues. It is a top go-to for seasonal allergies. And get this, they combine all those beautiful herbs with glycerin, so it actually tastes pretty darn good. Or should I say, it tastes kick-ass, without the K at the end. Anyways, if allergy season is miserable for you and you want a natural remedy that actually works for those itchy eyes and being all sneezy and wheezy, you have got to check out Wish Garden Herbs Kick-Ass Allergy. And for those of you with the little kiddos, no sweat, they've got a Kick It allergy too. And you pregnant mamas? you don't have to suffer either. They've got a kick-ass allergy formula just for you. So head over to wishgardenherbs.com or check out the link in the show notes and go grab yourself some kick-ass allergy so you can enjoy spring again.
So I need to go back through now that it's all built out again, because there's a whole lot more in there than there was when I did my initial deep dive.
Oh, and it's going to keep growing. So
which is fantastic. That's what initially drew me to nursing, was that you can never learn it all. Mm-hmm. I've got a lifelong learning mindset. If I'm not learning something, I'm not all the way alive. My brain has to be niggling on something and making connections. It's just the way I'm hardwired. And so I had assumed that it was just going to be my next hyper focus. I had no idea that there was going to be any purpose in it. And then through a wild set of circumstances, I had gotten a phone call back 2021, from a lawyer who had heard from a friend of a friend that I could maybe help break his client out of a hospital. I was doing things. Don't give me free time. It's dangerous to give me free time. When you let me out of a routine, who knows what's going to happen? And so I went and helped break the guy out and made a new friend. And I now have a lawyer cowboy friend. And he was down in Texas at a fundraiser thing, and met Priscilla, who owns Graith Care Patient Advocacy Company. And when she explained what that was, he said, "Oh, well, that's what Sherry does. You should call her." Snatched her phone and put my contact information in, said, "Nice to meet you," and left. And I got a phone call from Priscilla saying, a guy named Mike? I'm like, yeah. An hour later, she was inviting me to the team.
Wow.
2020, she had been working for an insurance company, case managing, and saw the need for taking out the middleman and giving patients access to the knowledge and resource that we have, because they were afraid. They had questions and they felt like they had no power, and they were just desperate. And so Priscilla's husband said, "Well, if it doesn't exist and it needs to exist, make it exist. You build it." And she said, "Will you name it and I'll build it?" And their daughters' names are Grace and Faith. So he combined that and made Graith, and it became Graith Care.
Nice. And so Graith Care, it's a patient advocacy. How does it work out? And
so people can just go to the website online and they can read about the different advocates. They can text or call or email. And the first person they talk to is Jennifer. And she is an amazing human who plays matchmaker. She listens to the client's story. What do they need help with? And then she figures out which advocate would best have the answers that they're looking for, matching personalities. She's brilliant at that. There have been a couple of times where she would call me and say, I need you to take this one. And she'd tell me about it. I'm like, that doesn't sound like I'm the one they need. And then I would talk to them and go, "Oh yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, they needed me." And then,
so it's almost like patient dating.
It feels like she's like playing matchmaker, and she's genius at it. And then we tag team a lot. I'll have a client that I'm helping with A, B, and C, and then they contact me and say, "Oh, well, my mom just got this diagnosis," and I'll be like, "Well, that's not me, but we've got an advocate for that." Mm-hmm. And so we collaborate with one another a lot. We've got a nutritionist. We've got a naturopath. we've got insurance nerds, and Priscilla's background is pediatric ICU. So she loves the little kids. And we're global. I have a client in Greece, a client in Mexico City, and a client in Australia.
That's amazing. And so you, like your role, you're basically, just to clarify for somebody who might not understand what an advocate is doing for people, and I'm going to do my best stab at it and correct me where I'm wrong or share your version of it. But from what I'm hearing is people are ill, they're in the Western medical system. They are not so much agreeing or feeling that it's working for them. And so they reach out for support, hearing out in the world that there's a more natural things that they could be doing, right? And then they're like,
part of it. That's
overwhelming.
That's a large part of it. A lot of people are looking for alternatives. And I'm one of the newbies in that realm. I'm still just learning. But because I've got the ICU medicine background, if we've got a case where they're in the hospital and they have questions, and I just end up kind of meeting them where they're at. Some of them think that naturopathy is voodoo medicine and they don't want to hear any of that. Some of them absolutely refuse to take a blood thinner just because Pfizer made it. And then there's a mix of somewhere in between. Right. I do a lot of preventing heading to the hospital. One of my specialties is helping protect from the cold and flu season naturally. And I keep it so simple that I don't think I've got a client yet that did not understand how onion honey is the most magical thing ever, ever, ever. Robitussin who? Right. And it's so simple. Everybody already has honey and an onion on hand and they weren't using it. It's cheap and it works and it doesn't hurt. And all I got to do is get that baby old enough to get them past that year mark so they can have the honey, and then we're golden.
Add in some thyme and add in some garlic too, and it's even better. Right? Simple kitchen medicine and the accessibility of it. But yet there's such a lack of knowledge around it, or it is that thought of like, nope, it's just hippy dippy fake woo woo kind of stuff.
I think it's genius when I look at traditional cuisine, not fancy cooking, but what the mamas and the grandmas cooked. And so you look at what are those flavors that each continent even used constantly. And then what does that do? When I look at all of our Christmas herbs, our ginger and our cinnamon, and that's medicine. And I'm like, we don't want to be sick for Christmas. No. It just makes sense. Yeah.
So much medicine in our food. I love that. We're about to do a deep dive intensive on that in Apothecary Momma coming up in November, because it's feasting season, right? And then by the time this episode comes out, our next herb of the month in the Kids Safe Herb Club will be out, and it's thyme. And that's why I had to bring that up. It's like one of the main constituents in thyme is thymol, and it's an incredible antimicrobial that's used in a lot of medical disinfectant products. It's used in tons of cough syrups and antiseptic creams and mouthwashes and all kinds of things. And it's simple garden thyme, the same stuff that we are putting in our foods that grows like a weed. Like
you can't.
I know. So, and it's so powerful. And I love that more and more people are beginning to recognize that and see that. And it's such a beautiful thing to see happening. It's certainly skyrocketed since the pandemic. Like The pandemic, I think, opened up a lot of eyes that maybe weren't so willing to look at these kinds of perspectives. But the fact of the matter is that it's there. You're like, this is real. It is not just fake. That is why they extract this particular constituent from this plant to make this thing and then charge you a lot more money for it later down the road.
Right. Green-lipped sea mussels. They are native to New Zealand, and that is what the scientists studied, because that particular place in New Zealand, nobody had arthritis, and they tried to figure out why. It was the green-lipped sea mussels that was a major part of the diet for those people. They never got arthritis. So, well, they can't make money off of the sea mussels, so they made a synthetic version that was Celebrex and that whole class of drugs that like gave Mama a new lease on life for a couple of years. She felt fantastic, and then it killed her liver. And then they died an ugly, ugly death. And so now we don't prescribe those drugs anymore. It was a fun experiment. It killed lots of mammals and papaws. Not cool.
Right.
But they have now made actual green-lipped sea mussels ground up and in a capsule that works wonderfully for easing arthritis pain.
Fascinating. I wonder, like, what are the constituents in there that are so beneficial? Do you happen to know?
I don't remember. I looked that up back in 2014. That was...
It's easy to forget those things.
Yeah. It made sense when I read it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah. And that's the other thing is, like, if you really do just pay attention to the medicines that were used by the indigenous people of those lands, like the plants grow right where you need them.
Oh,
they're there.
Perfect example was the yellow jackets that were living in the plantain patch at the base of the steps. And my man gets stung, but the medicine to make the sting go away right there.
Right in front of you.
Right.
So was he much of a believer before that moment? Because I think like plantain is like the gateway into herbalism for a lot of people. That makes them just be like, oh, no way.
It's crazy. Well, he was trying really hard not to say bad words because he was outside where kids could hear him.
Right.
And before he realized what had happened, I had already ground it up and slapped it on there. And he's like, wait, that fast? It doesn't, where'd the sting go? And I went, it worked.
Plant medicine for the win. Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. So amazing. It really is. I've
shared wild lettuce a lot because that grows so easily here. It's just right. Everybody's farm has it growing.
And they're like, get this weed out of here. And you're like, but wait. I'll get it for you. Can you tell me when it's just starting to come up, not flowered yet? I'll gladly come take it from you. That would be wonderful. Oh, yeah. It's so amazing how much is really out there for us. It's incredibly beautiful. What would you say for anybody that is starting down this, dare I say again, the term herbalist path? I did choose that name intentionally, but I had all kinds of other intentions, and now it just works as I move on throughout running it. But what would you say for people that are just starting to get into this world and discover all of these plants and their healing properties and how amazing they can be?
That anytime I learn something, I decide ahead of time whether I want a really narrow focus and then go deep, or do I want a little bit of knowledge about a lot, just enough to be dangerous. And I think knowing that before you begin is smart. Some people just want to know how to heal themselves. I got diagnosis this. I'm going to learn everything about this. And then they're going to deep dive on it. I wanted just enough knowledge to be dangerous and a different way of thinking. I needed my brain to start thinking about the body, not as disease ridden, but as injured. And this is something that I've talked to my clients about a lot. I'm like, don't accept the label of a diagnosis as something that you can live with forever. Why? Just because they told you they can't heal you, it's not in their best interest to heal you. Not if you're well. Yep. So why not instead think about what disease, what body system has an injury and how can we support it so that it can heal? If you woke up today, then there is a possibility that your cells can start rewriting in a healthier way instead of a more broken way any old time. And it's not going to be fast and it's not going to be easy. There's no magic to it. It's going to take time and it's going to take an investment, but your mind is so powerful, and your brain listens to what your mind tells it and then sends those messages to every cell in your body. So how important is it to gatekeep what messages your mind is telling your brain?
Yeah.
A lot of it is mindset. And just giving them a different way to think about their body, because sometimes we can be very hateful to our bodies. We're in pain. We're aging. We're stressed and we're not addressing it. We're in denial about it. We don't prioritize ourselves. And that tells our body that we don't value it. We are only granted one meat suit.
Yeah.
And it's pretty important to take care of it. And nobody taught us how, and that's okay. We can start to learn, and the knowledge is out there, and it's not that expensive. You do not need a degree. Right. So, I mean, I could have paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and gone after a degree, but Mel has this way of making it fun and accessible and exciting and achievable, and it's prettily packaged so that I can carry it around in my pocket. And again, the connection. I love hopping in there and seeing everyone supporting one another. It's fantastic.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. And the knowledge is out there, and there are many amazing people to learn from. That's the beauty of it, especially for me. I'm obviously biased in the plant medicine world, but I also full on agree with you with the mindset thing. And I feel like everything in this world can be shifted if we can just focus on the mindset. But here we are, humans, we're using maybe 5% of our mind, our brain on a regular basis, 5% of it. That's 95% of it that is not being utilized, It's amazing. And we can heal so much with that, especially if we are able to open up our minds and understand that the body has an innate ability to heal itself. That's its job, right? That's its entire job. Yeah.
One of the craziest cases that I got. Oh, that's another thing about Graith Care. The giving nature of it. There are people that are in desperate need, and financially they haven't got 2 pennies to rub together. And so Priscilla spends as much time as she can fundraising so that there can be given time for those crazy, scary, desperate cases, which is amazing. And I had a lady that desperately needed help. She hadn't been able to work in a year. So she had blown through all of her savings and her retirement. And she's like, I'm not gonna have a place to stay, but I can't go back to the hospital. They told me I wouldn't leave there alive the next time I came in. Her liver and kidneys were shutting down. And she goes, but I have zero money. I have $0. So if there's something you can do to save me. And I went, Lord, what? I went, okay, don't panic. Well, if we only have what you already have, then I need to take stock of everything that you have. Thank you, Jesus. She had already had so many wonderful things on hand already. She already believed in natural medicine. So she had lots of supplements and things that we could put into use for her already. We looked in her spice cabinet. We looked under her kitchen sink. We looked in her bathroom closet. I knew everything in her house. Mm-hmm. And we came up with a plan, and we were working 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, so I could play a long game with her. And each time I talked to her, she sounded a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger. And then she said, I feel like I've plateaued. I'm not getting worse, but I'm not continuing to get better like I thought. And I said, well, then there's something we're missing. There's a missing piece. And we went back through the whole plan. And I'm like, we did it. We're doing that. We're doing that. What else is free medicine? Frequencies. Like, you've got YouTube. Let's look up some healing frequencies. I'd never looked into it. I'd never prescribed it. But I was looking for other free medicine. I sent her a couple of graphics, and I told her to just type it in YouTube, that specific frequency for healing for sleep. And I said, you do all of your healing when you're sleeping anyway. Why not boost it up a notch? Mm-hmm. Fast forward, I didn't hear from her for like a whole month. I called to check in. I didn't recognize her voice. She was that vibrant and alive. And she goes, sorry, I didn't answer when you called. I was pressure washing the driveway.
Yay.
Already on the schedule to go back to work. No longer afraid. She goes, I'm getting better. Mm-hmm. She goes, I haven't felt this good in forever.
Oh, that's so good. And I bet it brings chills and tingles to my body, hearing that you're able to help people do those kinds of things.
I get a front row seat watching God work. It's just, it's not me. I'm just on the phone with them.
Right. You're the advocate. You are the messenger. You are the helper and the guide. And that is beautiful.
And a lot of times I'm just giving them the right questions to ask, because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So I can arm them with those questions, and I'm able to reassure them about half the time. After I've done a little investigation and talked to the bedside nurse, I can tell them, it sounds like they're providing excellent care. Is that what your gut tells you? And they say yes. And I'm like, then relax. If your spidey senses start tingling, I'm a phone call away. But I think they're getting really good care right now. And they can relax and be reassured with that.
I love that. And relaxing is so much a piece of the game, instead of in that chronic state of stress and worry and fear, right? Which it's scary when you're told you're not going to come out of the hospital at all, except for dead.
And then we've got legal nurse consultants that are doing case reviews as well. So we've got people covered on that end once when they're ready to ask questions and answers.
It sounds like such a fantastically helpful organization. How can people find out about Graith Care and find out about potentially working with you if you're their perfect match?
So you can go to Graith Care, GraithCare.com. And you can read the stories of the advocates. And we've got a fantastic knowledge base when you add everyone in together. And the way that we work together is sometimes awe-inspiring and sometimes just downright fun. We support one another. Priscilla has built the platform with an IT guy, like from the ground up. And it's genius, and it's still continuing to build. So very soon there's going to be an app so that the client can log in, see how many minutes they have, read the notes that the advocates have put in. We're going to be able to chat and do video conference worldwide through the app. so that I can actually get eyeballs in the ICU room and put it at the monitor so I can tell you so stepping out of the role that I was most comfortable in for so long has been tricky. It's been something I've had to navigate because something's going down and I'm like, I can't get there and go fix it. Are they fixing it? Are they fixing it? I don't know if they're fixing it. So a lot of it is take a deep breath and what can I control? A lot of times we get clients that come to us because they want help for their brother or their uncle, and their brother or uncle doesn't realize that they need the help. And so are resistant to it. And so then my role becomes in helping them plant the seeds, but then remind them that while free will is a very difficult thing to let people have, it is the right thing.
Right.
And we have to be okay with that and love them where they're at.
Yeah, that does get really, really challenging, but that's the fact of the matter is if they're not willing, we can't do much other than still love and just say, I'm here when you're ready.
Yep.
Yeah. And maybe build up all the resources and arsenal you can use to help them maybe shift their minds a bit. But I know a lot of people, if you try to shift the mind, they're just going to resist even more. And that's unfortunate. It goes back to the like, well, do you want help? Like, do you want to feel horrible forever or no? Like, we were talking about that on a call inside of our community this morning, like the people that are resistant to, they're like, I'm sick. And then somebody in the family is like, well, here, try this. And they're like, nope.
Are you enjoying being sick then?
Yeah, exactly. I can help you or you can stay miserable. Your choice.
You can teach a dog, an old dog, new tricks, though. My dad's got elderberry syrup in his.
Yay. Yeah, I see that happen often, and I love it so much. That's why I like to get those gateway herbs that just blow people's minds, where they're just like, no way. And we were talking today because the herb of the month in the Kids Safe Herb Club is elderberry, or elder. The entire shrubbery has tons of medicine, but we were talking specifically on how elderberry can be so approachable because it's delicious, number one, and it is incredibly effective. There is actual science to back the data or back the claims behind elderberries. And it's one of those that you can say to somebody, here, take this. Oh, wow. Were you better so much faster? Oh, wow. Did you avoid getting sick when everybody you knew got sick?
Well, how that works.
Really interesting. Yeah. So it's so much fun. Well, thank you. I don't want to take up too much more time of your day. I am so grateful you came on to chat with me and to share about what you're doing today and your experience in both the Western medical system and also learning how to transition out of that system as well, which I think so many people are seeking to do today. Thank you for being a caretaker, all in all, as a whole. Like, we need more of you in the world.
I think everybody has their strengths, and taking care of people just comes naturally. All the broken people show up at my door and I do what I can. And as much as I fuss about the disconnected feeling that social media and our devices give us, we can use any tool, and the ability for Graith Care to bring me the people. I don't have to wait for them to find me on their own. Is fantastic. And I can trust that God will bring me the ones that are for me. And Jennifer, she's so important to it. It's neat watching her work. And then we all get to share the stories. HIPAA compliant, of course.
Right. Of course, you have to be that large, I would say, and to be able to make that kind of impact. Hopefully, you are at least. So, that's amazing. I will for sure link to Graith Care in the show notes of this podcast, so people can possibly find you, and if it's not you, the other right person that can help them navigate whatever it is that they need to navigate. And again, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing, for always being there to support and learn more and grow more. I am also that learning addict where I'm like, I've got to keep learning, because if I don't, I'm going to be incredibly bored. And when you spoke that of nursing, I'm like, that's how I feel about herbalism. So,
as evidenced by all of the books behind you there, the titles.
Yeah, I might be a bit of an addict in the herbal medicine and other holistic healing book collection thing. It's a thing. That's
My
for
man
sure.
got me my very first herbalism book for Christmas last year.
Oh, that's amazing. What'd you get?
It's do you know Amy Elohim?
I don't.
She is on TikTok. She has a channel, and that was her little passion project, and it is beautifully done. And it's got great photography so that you can see the plants, which makes it so much easier for me to be able to identify, because plant identification is one of those things that's important. If I don't grow it myself, I need to be able to recognize it confidently.
Yeah.
And she's got a bunch of recipes in there that are very, very simple and accessible.
Awesome.
And swap outs for soaps and household products and all of those things.
Fun. That sounds awesome. Yeah. I obviously have spent large amounts of money on buying lots and lots of herb books. I love it because every one of them is so valuable in their own right, yet none of them have everything that I need.
So, right.
But I'm
I
so
think it's a
grateful for
tradition.
that.
I think I should get one for Christmas every year for the rest of my life.
My mom got me 2 last year for Christmas, and it really meant a lot to me, because I'm really the person in my family that follows this path. And my mom tries here and there. She kind of tries, and sometimes she'll be like, "Your thing did this for me," and I'm like, "I know." I've been doing this for 20 plus years now, Mom. I'm here for you. Anytime you're ready. And she'll try, but it meant a lot to me. The books that she got for me, it was really, really sweet. So,
right.
I love it. Okay. Thank you so much, Cherylin. You're have welcome. A beautiful day, and I'll let you know when this episode comes out.
Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of The Herbalist Path. Being on this journey with you is absolutely incredible. If you dig this episode, please leave me a review on your favorite podcast player and share it with your friends so that together we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. On another note, I must mention that while I know you're getting some good info here, it's important to remember that this podcast is purely for entertainment and educational purposes and is not intended to be a substitute for medical treatment. While the information in this podcast is absolutely relevant, herbs work differently for each person and each condition. That's why I recommend you work with a qualified practitioner, whether that be another herbalist, a naturopath, or your doctor. So thank you again. I am truly honored that you're tuning into these episodes and on the path with me to make sure that there's an herbalist in every home again. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends so that we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. It has been so much fun and so, joyous watching all of my medicinal plant friends popping up in my garden, from the elecampane to the comfrey and the arnica. I love seeing these friends pop up. And if you are still trying to decide what to grow in your medicinal herb garden, you've got to grab my guide. It's all about the most essential herbs that every mom should know and should grow. So I teach you how to grow them and the many different ways that you can use them. If you want to grab the guide, go ahead. It's free, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of delight and use out of it. And there's a link to it in the show notes. I'm wishing you tons of happy medicine planting.